1. Stop complaining. It's time to face the truth. No one ruins your mood. You allow it to happen. A message goes unanswered. A glance gets ignored. A plan falls apart. And suddenly, you're spiraling. Why? Because you're not living for yourself. You're reacting to the world around you. You've tied your emotions to someone else's actions, someone who may not even value your presence. Take a moment and ask yourself, are you living as someone with direction? Or are you just a reflection of other people's behavior? Complaining is the habit of those afraid to take responsibility. It's the easiest escape from the pain of accountability. But here's the harsh truth. You can't grow if you keep shifting the blame. You're not truly angry at them for forgetting you. You're angry at yourself for letting their response, or lack of it, define your worth. Now ask yourself something uncomfortable. If no one replied to your messages tomorrow, would you still feel valuable? If your answer is not sure, it's time to rebuild your foundation. You don't need a world that constantly validates you. You need an inner world that doesn't fall apart when others go silent. Make no mistake, your emotions are valid. Your pain is real. But if you let your feelings dictate your actions, you'll end up like a ship with no anchor, drifting wherever the current takes you. You need to wake up. This discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your signal. Not to harden yourself, but to regain control. And it starts by not looking for reasons out there, but asking, when did I start abandoning myself? This won't be an easy lesson, but if you face it head on, you'll cross into a new chapter, living awake, living grounded, and no longer at the mercy of someone else's silence. 2. Stop pretending you're okay. Dig into the real issue. There's a hard truth most people avoid. Many are not okay, but they've mastered the art of pretending they are. Not because they're strong, because they're scared. Scared that admitting they're tired, lost, or vulnerable means they failed. But hiding pain doesn't heal it. Just like you can't treat a wound by pretending it's not there, burying your emotions only gives them more control. What you suppress controls you. Be honest. How many times have you smiled at others while your chest felt like concrete? How often have you said, "I'm fine," when your mind was screaming? Pretending to be okay doesn't make you resilient. It disconnects you from yourself. If you constantly try to read others' minds, adjust your behavior to fit their needs, suppress your anger just to keep peace, you're not living, you're performing. The more you fake being fine, the more distorted you become inside. You lose your ability to say no. You downplay your own needs. You push emotions down, thinking it makes you stronger. But suppressed feelings don't disappear. They morph into headaches, sleepless nights, anxiety, emotional shutdowns. Even worse, they show up as bitterness, blame, and distrust. Healing begins when you face what's real. Why do you always apologize first? Even when you're not wrong, why do you hesitate to say, "I don't like that"? Why do you stay silent when someone crosses the line? Maybe because you were taught that expressing emotions makes you weak. Maybe you learned to become the nice one to stay safe. But over time, it's cost you the deepest thing, connection to yourself. True strength is not smiling through pain. It's saying, I'm not okay right now, and that's okay. You don't have to be liked by everyone. You just have to be someone you respect. Ask yourself, if no one was left to please, how would you live? If that question feels unfamiliar, it means you haven't really lived as yourself yet. The journey begins not with being loved, but with being seen by you. It won't be easy, but it's the only way to stop surviving and start living. Today, do something different. When you're tired, rest. When you're sad, don't numb, feel it. When you're angry, don't swallow it, voice it respectfully. You don't need to change overnight. You just need to stop pretending and start being real, raw, imperfect, and human. That's where real strength begins. 2, 3. Stop blaming others. Start looking at yourself. One of the most common reactions when life hurts is to point fingers. Blame the partner, blame the past, blame bad luck, blame the world. It feels justified. It feels emotionally true. But here's the catch. Blame doesn't move you forward. It only helps you escape accountability, temporarily. But that escape often becomes a lifetime prison. Ask yourself, why do I always end up with people who hurt me? Why does nothing ever work out? Why do I feel so stuck? If your first answer is because of them, because life's unfair, because no one understands me, then you're stuck in a game you'll never win, a game where you're always innocent but never in control. The hard truth? You're not responsible for everything that's happened, but you are responsible for what happens next. You can't change how others act, but you can change how you respond. And until you truly embrace that, you'll repeat the same pain in different forms, with new faces, new jobs, new situations. Same chaos, different setting. It's terrifying to admit, I helped create this mess, not because you wanted to, but because you refused to learn or take ownership. Because it's easier to feel like a victim than to face your reflection. But here's the challenge. Do you want pity or do you want freedom? Victims wait for change. Leaders become the change. You can't heal by staying angry. You can't grow by waiting for apologies. You can't rebuild by blaming the rubble. Instead, ask, what part of me allowed this to happen? Not to shame yourself, but to empower yourself. That's the moment you take your life back. Your parents didn't teach you how to love yourself? Then teach yourself now. Your ex betrayed you? Then learn to set better boundaries. Your life feels stuck? Then stop handing the wheel to anyone but you. This isn't about guilt, it's about power. No one is coming to rescue you. And that's good news, because you no longer have to wait. From now on, when pain hits, don't ask, who hurt me? Ask, what can I do differently now? That one shift, taking responsibility instead of assigning blame, will separate the ones who stay stuck from the ones who rise. And once you taste that power, you'll never want to give it away again. Four, face a hard truth. You can be a good person and still get left behind. You once believed if you loved deeply, treated others right, did everything correctly, they wouldn't leave. That belief likely came from childhood, where being good meant being loved, and following rules meant being safe. So you carried that belief into every adult relationship until one day someone left. Even though you gave your best, even though you didn't do anything wrong, that moment is disorienting. You start asking, was I not enough? What did I do wrong? Do I deserve this? But here's the truth. Being good doesn't guarantee being chosen. Love is not a transaction. People don't stay simply because you were kind, patient, or selfless. They stay if they're ready, if they're capable, if they choose to. You can cook the perfect meal. Someone will still walk out halfway through. You can give your all. Someone will still say it's not enough. You can spend years building a connection, and someone may still leave without explanation. Not because you lack value, but because people are on their own timelines, driven by their own wounds, fears, and needs that have nothing to do with you. The most painful illusion is thinking that love can prevent abandonment. It can't. You don't control someone's ability to love or stay. Your responsibility isn't to keep people, it's to keep yourself. Ask yourself, do I want someone who stays because I twisted myself to be perfect? Or someone who stays because they see me fully, honestly, and choose me anyway? Not everyone who leaves is cruel. Not everyone who stays is kind. Sometimes the ones who walk away do it because they're honest enough to know they can't give what you need. And that's not rejection, that's redirection. Love is a choice, daily, voluntary, mutual. And when someone stops choosing you, your job is not to beg. It's to remember that you still choose yourself. You don't need to be cold to protect yourself. You just need to be grounded enough not to collapse when someone walks away. So stop using kindness to earn presence. Use honesty to protect your peace. Because in the end, a good person isn't someone who never gets left behind. It's someone who, even after being left, never abandons themselves. True strength is staying calm when everything pushes you to break. There's a type of strength no one teaches in school, no one puts on resumes, and no one claps for in public. It's the strength to stay calm when everything around you is trying to pull you into chaos. When you're insulted, but don't retaliate. When you're misunderstood, but don't rush to defend. When you're disappointed, but don't lash out. When you're hurt, but don't collapse into victimhood. All those moments when you did nothing on the outside, those are quiet victories of the inner world. Because let's face it, emotional outbursts often leave behind consequences you can't take back. A message you wish you hadn't sent. A decision made in rage. A silence that cut too deep. Most of these didn't come from the world, they came from you, losing yourself in a moment. Emotions are waves, but you don't have to drown in every wave. You can learn to sit still, let it pass, and remain whole when the tide recedes. Stoicism calls it the gap between stimulus and response. That's where your freedom lives. Reaction is instinct. Calm is a choice. And that choice only exists when you stop operating on autopilot. This world runs on noise, speed, and distraction, so when you go quiet, people may think you're weak. But it's in that silence that you hear your real voice, the one not driven by fear or ego. Remember this simple truth. No one makes you lose your calm unless you hand them the power to do so. They can be rude, distant, unfair, but you always have the final say in how you respond. Why does that matter? Because every time you let someone control your emotions, you surrender part of your power. One text ruins your day. One comment shakes your identity. That's not strength. That's emotional dependency. So how do you build the real kind? Not by pretending you don't care, but by practicing every day how to stay grounded when you do care. Start small. Delay your reaction by 10 minutes when triggered. Ask yourself, what am I protecting by reacting this way? Take a walk. Breathe. Write. Wait. Then decide what really matters. Because right action never comes from blind emotion. It comes from clarity. And clarity only comes from stillness. You're not weak for not reacting. You're powerful for not letting storms control your roots. When everyone else is spiraling, you stand. When the world is shouting, you listen. That's not passive. That's leadership. And no, it's not magic. It's mental discipline, and like any muscle, you can build it. Next time chaos strikes, breathe and remind yourself, I'm not here to react, I'm here to lead, starting with myself. Six, start changing. Stop waiting for someone to save you. There's a silent illusion that kills personal growth. I'll be okay once someone else changes. Once they treat me better. Once my parents understand me. Once my boss recognizes me. But that once rarely arrives. Change never begins with others, and if you keep waiting, you've already surrendered control of your life to forces outside your reach. Maybe you've told yourself, I'll heal when they apologize. But what if they never do? Will you stay wounded forever? You have the right to hurt, but you don't have the right to use that pain as a license to stay stuck. Don't confuse being hurt with being helpless. You can be broken, but you are never powerless. Let's be honest. How many times have you delayed growth because you weren't ready, or because you were waiting for someone to tell you it's time? Waiting for support, for validation, for the right conditions. The truth? No one owes you a breakthrough. People are too wrapped in their own lives to carry your emotional weight. If you want change, you must lead it. If you want freedom, you must fight for it. If you want a different life, you must start walking even when no one claps, watches, or helps. You don't need someone to be there for you to begin. Yes, we all need connection. But if you need someone to start living, you're not living, you're depending. Here's the hard question. If everyone left you tomorrow, would you still stand? If the answer is no, that's your wake-up call. You've been outsourcing your power to people who were never meant to carry it. Change begins in small, consistent choices. Say no when you mean it. Sit with your feelings instead of numbing them. Read one page. Speak your truth even if your voice shakes. Walk away from what breaks you instead of waiting to be pushed. Pain isn't your enemy. Avoidance is. You don't have to be perfect. You don't even have to be fast. But you do have to move. Because if you don't change, you'll repeat. And repeating the same version of yourself in cycles you hate, that's the real tragedy. Today, if no one helps you, get up anyway. If no one listens, write it anyway. If no one leads, become the path. You don't need to get it all right, but you must start. because this is your life, and no one else is responsible for it but you. Number 7, a final reminder. For the moments you feel weak, there will be days when you feel lost. No one seems to understand. Nothing goes your way. And the scariest part, you feel like you don't have the strength to try anymore. In those moments, you don't have to be strong. But you must remember this. You can fall, but don't give up. Negative emotions won't break you unless you let them run your life. You don't need to defeat the pain. You just need to refuse to follow it into the dark. Don't make big decisions when your heart is falling apart. Don't judge your worth based on your weakest moment. And don't forget, you've survived heavier storms than this, even if no one saw you do it. You may be tired, but you're not worthless. You may be confused, but you're not lost. You may be alone, but you're not abandoned. Right now, all you need to do is sit and breathe. One deep breath is a silent declaration. I'm still here. I haven't given up. You don't need a big reason to keep going. Just one reminder when your heart trembles. I don't need to control everything. I just need to stay with myself. From those soft, quiet moments of honesty, your strength will begin to rebuild. Not through force, but through truth. I'm hurting, but I haven't given up hope. And sometimes, that's all it takes to carry you through another day. One more day of not quitting. One more day of choosing to stay. One more day closer to the version of you who never abandoned themselves.